Good evening, ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties. This is Alex coming at you from the underworld, and welcome back to another episode of Happy Fall, everyone, and welcome to my first video of Halloween-themed book reviews. I know this is only the last weekend in September, and some people might think this is too early to celebrate Halloween, but for those people, they just don't keep Halloween in their heart, because I've been celebrating Halloween since Labor Day, and even then I felt like that was too late. But I've already gotten out my decorations, I've started watching the Halloween specials on DVDs that I've collected, and most importantly, I've started reading Halloween-themed books. Now, it doesn't really feel like fall down here yet because this is Mississippi and it's like still 90 degrees outside, but we do have like a nice fall breeze coming in and the leaves are starting to fall, and so this is pinging in my mind. It is time to indulge in one of my favorite things. Oh, I can just taste it already. That's right, the pumpkin spice latte. Yes, I am that basic bitch and I am not ashamed. And while we're filming this video, I just wanted to give a heads up. I'm going to have a pumpkin spice latte, my first pumpkin spice latte of the year, delivered to me while filming this. And I'm not going to be able to do anything more than just savor it. So bear with me when my assistant delivers that. Back when I was in elementary school, R.L. Stine was the craze, and even though his popularity has dwindled over the years, he still brings a ray of happiness into 90s kids such as myself. Over the years, I had heard that R.L. Stine was the literary training bra for Stephen King, and truth be it, this is pretty much right on the nail. I mean, when I was in elementary school, I read a few R.L. Stine books, even though I had a huge collection of his work, and I quickly went from those books over to Stephen King within the matter of that same year. So that is a pretty true statement, especially when it comes down to kids at that time. Now, with the R.L. Stine books, I did have a lot of the Goosebumps books and I had a lot of the Fear Street books, but as soon as I made that transition over to Stephen King, I ended up getting rid of all of my titles, which I highly regretted. It was like getting rid of some of my favorite toys, and I just wish that I hadn't had done that. But now, over the last few years, you have had a craze for vintage paperbacks, and I've jumped on the bandwagon with that craze. And so I've started going to used bookstores, which, by the way, you really need to start visiting used bookstores. They're a dying breed, and they don't need to be a dying breed. So if you're watching this and you know of a used bookstore, please list that used bookstore name and location so people can visit it. But back to the subject. I ended up getting on the bandwagon about the vintage paperbacks of the horror genre. And this is when I decided to start grabbing some old R.L. Stine books, which brings us to the book that I'm reviewing in this video, which is Halloween Night, that I found at a used bookstore. Now, I had read this when I was a kid, and I remember enjoying it, but there's a lot between age 34 and age 12, so I couldn't remember too much about it. So I revisited it, and I expected to jump back into that whole nostalgic feel and just become a kid again, but reading this as an adult, it really left a lot to be desired. Halloween Night by R.L. Stine is out of print, so finding a copy might be a little hard unless you go to a used bookstore or find a secondhand seller online. But on to plot. So we have the story being a simple one, and it introduces three friends who are Brenda, Dina, and Tracy. And they're working on a class project for creative writing class, which is a murder mystery that takes place at a costume party on Halloween night. Well, entering plot, we have Hallie, who is Brenda's cousin, and Brenda hates Hallie with a passion. And unfortunately, Hallie lives with Brenda because her parents are going through a nasty divorce and she has no other option but to live there. So Brenda, her hatred towards Hallie is honestly nothing more than jealousy. She feels that her parents love Hallie more. She feels that Hallie has taken over all of her personal space. And so, with this hate-fueled passion she has towards her cousin, Brenda suggests to her friends, how about we write the murder mystery and make Hallie the victim? Well, pretty much between them, Dina feels that this is in poor taste, but they continue on with the plot anyway. And as the story progresses, in real life, you have Hallie, who has stolen Brenda's boyfriend and Tracy's boyfriend. Well, at this point, Brenda feels that it is time to murder Hallie. So what she decides to do is she proposes the idea to her friends that they're going to murder Hallie on Halloween night at their costume party. And they're going to use the same scenario in the story that they're writing to actually murder Hallie in real life. But little does Brenda know that she is also a victim, and everything comes to a full head on Halloween night at her costume party. Unfortunately, there's not much of a story behind the story here. R.L. Stine has said in the past that he doesn't do his research, and truth be it, with this book, it honestly seems like he had nothing more than a job to do, and he did that job. It doesn't seem like it was inspired by any real case, and it doesn't seem like it's really paying homage to anything except just the murder mystery whodunit subgenre. And even with that, it doesn't seem like it really pays homage to Halloween, except just it being set at Halloween at a costume party. So there's nothing really to grab onto here. But what I can elaborate on is this is one of the books of the Point Horror series. So this is not one of the Fear Street books. But Point Horror was created by Scholastic in 1991, and it remained successful throughout the 90s until it fizzled out. Other authors who contributed to this series beside R.L. Stine was Richie Tankersley Cusack, Samantha Lee, and also Christopher Pike. So those are just some of the few, but there was tons of other authors who contributed. Well, now that we have covered the basics, it's time to move on to the spoiler section of this video, which, if you have not read this book and you want to, you need to avoid this section because I'm going to rant about some scenes and character development that could ruin the experience for you if you have yet to read this. So if you would wish to skip this, just go down to the comments section of this video. You'll see that I have a pinned comment at the top, and with this there will be a timestamp that will redirect you to the thoughts section of this video. You only have 17 seconds to do this, so ready, set, go. Now that everyone has had a chance to click away, this is going to really seem more like a slam versus an admiration. But here we go. So it's really obvious who the stalker is from page 1. All you have to do is take Brenda's most quiet friend and bam, there's your smoking pistol. And truth be it, it's so obvious that at the end of the story, when Brenda staged her own death, she even admitted that she knew from the beginning that Dina was the stalker. And she created this whole elaborate scheme just to go in and pull Dina out into the open in front of everyone at her costume party. So the thing is, if the victim knows who the stalker is from the very beginning, everyone else is probably going to know who it is. And truth be it, this is just not rocket science, but maybe it was for people who was my age when this first came out, and I don't know, maybe for teens back in the 90s, this was just some great big, oh my god, I can't believe it, but I think the average day kid today is way more advanced than this. And also, I want to comment on some of the methods that Dina used to stalk Brenda, which she had ended up using animal blood to scrawl across Brenda's bedroom wall a message of warning. And then she used a dead bird to put in a pumpkin that was inside of Brenda's room. And the list continued of animal parts that she had used throughout. Now, my gripe about this is Dina is supposed to work at a vet clinic when she gets out of school. And that kind of indicates that she loves animals, or maybe she just needed the money. It's never really explained, but we're going to go under the assumption that Dina loved animals. And the thing is, if this is the case, I understand that these tools are at her fingertips, but why would she use these items if she loved animals? And I mean, also another thing is with the dead bird, it never explains if Dina killed the bird or the bird was already dead. But if Dina did kill the bird to put in the jack-o'-lantern inside of Brenda's bedroom, then this just makes her even more of a sociopath than she already is. Which you can tell by her mannerisms and everything that she is a total sociopath. But I just felt like there wasn't any big surprise here. And at the end of the story, it was just kind of a letdown, truth be it. And then also her motive, it was very self-centered. Pretty much she had explained to Brenda the reason why she had picked her out to stalk her and stuff like that is because how Brenda treated Hallie, because this made Dina remember when her parents went through a divorce and Brenda had given her the cold shoulder. So there was like some pent-up aggression there that she just finally decided to take out. Oh my god. The characters in this book. I can't even begin. Yes, I can. Okay, so the teenagers in this book are some of the most superficial bitches ever put on page. And the parents are complete dumbasses. And granted, the mom has a little bit more common sense than the dad does, but that's not saying much because she is a total stereotype of whatever the man of the house says goes. Now, a good example of this is the scene when their house gets broken into and the intruder goes into their daughter's bedroom and writes on the wall in blood a cryptic message that she's going to get killed this Halloween. Now, even though this goes down, the father decides not to call the cops. And what does the mom do? She doesn't argue with him. All she does is just simply say, well, I think we should have called the cops, and then there's no more said or done about it. And what the hell? What the actual hell? I mean, your house has been broken into, your privacy has been invaded, your daughter's bedroom has been defiled, and you're not gonna call the cops. What good reason is there? I mean, does the man have a meth lab in his basement? Does he have a prostitute ring he doesn't want anyone to know about? What good reason does he have not to call the cops? So, there's their stupidity. Now, I want to talk a second about their parenting skills, which are piss poor. I am against child abuse, but my God, these people need to take a page from Joan Crawford. The last thing I would do is have two dueling little shits like Brenda and Hallie under my roof just being the hellions that they are. And granted, the thing is, the parents do actually sit down with them and try to talk every once in a blue moon about why there's this hatred there and stuff, but there's really no good reprimand. I mean, it's like the worst that they decide to do, if anything, would be like just to take away Brenda's Lisa Frank or some crap. And the thing is, seriously, if you're going to be a parent, you have got to be a much better parent than this. You have got to be able to reprimand and say, hey, it's time to stop the shit. And the thing is, just pardon that little continuity error there. Now, on to the kids. These are some sociopathic asses. And did I mention they're superficial? Anyway, they're superficial and they're also sociopaths. Now, the thing is with Brenda, she is just a spoiled, privileged little brat. Now, her friends, they are the same as her, but not as bad, but they're still in the same boat. And here's the thing, even when they do care about someone else, they only care about that person because there's things going on in that individual's life that reminds them of their own poor memories. So the thing is, even when they have someone else in mind for consideration, which is like just maybe once or twice in the book for a sentence or two, it's no bleeding heart sort of deal. It's simply them feeling sorry for someone because the same thing has happened to them and they're feeling sorry for themselves. So no one gets a gold star here. And that's just the girls. Now the boys, they are these dribble lip tools that only have page time to complement the brash personality of their girlfriends. And while I'm on this subject, I want to talk about Ted, who is Brenda's boyfriend. Now, Ted, he is an idiot who keeps making the same mistake over and over and over again. And Brenda is just as bad because she's stupid enough to keep taking him back again and again and again. Now, throughout all of the crap that goes down with his wandering penis and everything, this is proof that God gave man two heads and only enough blood to work one head at a time. Now, the only character that I kind of felt sorry for, and this is kind of a stretch because she's kind of a bitch too, I did feel sorry for Hallie a little bit. Now, granted, she's not a saint at all, and she did steal Brenda's boyfriend, and she stole Tracy's boyfriend. But truth be it, if I was treated like crap like how they were treating her, I would steal their boyfriends too, just to prove a point. Now, as you can tell, I did not like any of the characters in this book, and if they were on fire, I would not even waste my piss on them. So, needless to say, if R.L. Stine was trying to paint this picture of characters that no one liked, he really succeeded. Because, truth be it, these characters, and they do have some character development, let me tell you, these characters reminded me of that demographic of popular kids that everyone has gone to school with, that even though they're popular, everybody hates them because they're so damn annoying. First off, I'd like to know where my damn latte is. Sure would be nice to have it at this time. I've only been waiting about a good 20 minutes and it still has not entered my hand or hook, but who knows, the video's not over and I haven't sang yet, so let's move on with the video. Secondly, I can't say I love this book. I would say that it was entertaining. I definitely was entertained. And because I was entertained, I do feel like it was good. But at the same time, you're looking at a person who thinks Troll Part 2 is good cinema. So take that with a grain of salt. Now, there are some pros and cons to this book, and I'm going to go with the cons before I do the pros. Now, the cons are, R.L. Stine has a bad habit of ending every chapter on a cliffhanger, and the cliffhangers are always extremely melodramatic. And the thing is, it's unnecessary, because a lot of times when he ends a chapter, someone screams bloody murder, and then you discover in the next chapter all that happened was someone just spilt their chocolate milk. So that gets annoying quick. He also has a problem with cliches. He has a lot of cliches in his work and also a lot of stereotypes. And this also presents to us a little bit of slut-shaming too, because with Hallie, even though she says she's sorry for stealing other people's boyfriends because she's just lonely and stuff, it still plays off like he is slut-shaming a demographic. I can't quite put my finger on why I feel this way, but he writes it in a sense where I can't help but feel this way. Now, as far as the realism goes, I have a problem with that too. None of the characters are realistic. And what I mean by that is, I guess they would be a little realistic, because if you were to take the stupidest person you know, or the biggest asshole you know, and made them the lead character of a book, then that would be Halloween Night. And as far as the social commentary is concerned, it does touch on what kids might go through when their parents are getting a divorce, but the bigger subject is bullying. And the thing is, there's so much bullying in this book, and it comes from so many directions, even from the people that we're supposed to root for. It becomes like this muddied mess where you just have no idea who you should love or hate, or just who you should feel sorry for. And truth be it, by the time I was done with this, I discovered I didn't like any of the characters, and I wanted something bad to happen to all of them. And that was mainly because they were just so stupid. But aside from all of the cons, the pro is I was entertained. This was like watching a train wreck. I honestly couldn't look away. It would honestly be good if there was like I would say a reality TV show based on this. I could definitely see something like a reality TV show based on this scenario here, because these people are just so damn superficial and annoying. Just reality TV is screaming for something like this. But anyway, that's how I felt about the book. I wish R.L. Stine would have given us a protagonist who wasn't such a bitch, but hey, it is what it is. I enjoyed this book. I've already said that. I enjoyed this book. Now, I would not consider it to be good literature whatsoever, but it's a guilty pleasure. It is honestly a guilty pleasure. Now, there is a scene in this where... No, there's multiple scenes in this, because I had to think about this. There's multiple scenes in this where it just becomes cheesy. And it becomes cheesy in a sense where it's laughable, and not in a good way, but it's still something where my mind kind of just went there to save myself from getting just burnt out on the subject. Now, one of the cheesiest moments in here is after Brenda and Hallie make up. And this is over just about a paragraph or two where they come to a mutual understanding that they could have been friends all along. Now, what they do next is they run down into the kitchen and they start carving pumpkins. And the way this is constructed is so cheesy that I couldn't help but imagine this horrible 90s montage going on while MMMBop played. Sorry, my mind went there. But I would recommend this to someone who is not looking for any type of thought-provoking work. This is definitely a leisure read, something that you could read in one sitting, and it's just something where maybe you read something that was really heavy and you just need a break from it. You need something to read that you can laugh at. And this is that book. Now on to the questions. First off, what Halloween-themed book would you recommend to me that would put me into the spirit of the season? Secondly, what is your fondest Halloween party memory? Mine is when I decided to kind of scale back from doing Halloween parties and I decided to do a Halloween dinner. And at this time, I was really into vintage Halloween. So what I did was I took my grandmother's garage and I put black visqueen up on all the walls, which I had stenciled this with like pumpkins and skeletons. And then I had like decorated the place with hay bales and just vintage decorations. And we decided to have like a dinner table in there where there was like pumpkin chili, which, yes, pumpkin chili is an actual thing and it is damn good if you've never had it. But we also had like vintage party games, and bobbing for apples was one of those. So even though this wasn't really a party, it was more so a dinner party. And I think that I enjoyed that a lot more than just throwing a big bash. Well, at last, you finally have arrived. I thought I was going to have to wait for, like, pumpkin spice season to completely go out of the picture and eggnog season to begin. What the hell took you so long? This video was, like, about 25 minutes long, and I could have been sitting here savoring that with every little sip throughout the whole thing. Well, what are you doing just standing there? Let me have it. Before I head out, I would like to thank Alicia Graves and Joseph Baylott for contributing to my Patreon account. If you would like to do this as well, just refer to the description section of this video and you'll see a link that will direct you over to my Patreon page. And for $5 a month, I'll mention your name at the end of each video I do. If you're unable to do this, there's no sweat. I'm still going to continue making videos because my goal is just to simply connect with the horror community and horror readers, and also just to simply make reading fun. So if you would like to connect with me on other social media sites, ones that don't cost, I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and links to all of those are in the description section of this video. And finally, I would just like to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and click the notifications bell because I have tons of other videos coming in the near future and I would hate for you to miss them. So until next time, I hope you have a great week, and until we meet again, sweet nightmares.